welcome. This one's about healing betrayal. The first in this series was those 5 essentials of trust, which, we come to church here as a mess of trust issues, right? Now we're going to go into healing betrayal, which seems impossible, don't want to do, too vulnerable. So I am really glad you're here. I'm Pastor Brenda, and I invite you just to stay in, hear about this possibility. You're going to hear some very non-church answers here, but you're also going to hear some hope, because there is a possibility here that will be fair for you in the end. All right? So I want to continue on with Psalm 55. We began it in the one about the 5 essential trust issues. So I'm going to pick up again at verse 16. But I will call out on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night, I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. I'm going to just stop for a moment here. Betrayal feels awful morning, noon, and night, right? And I want to stay here as the way the Psalms can only give us words to what we can't put words to, because sometimes it's just too many emotions. God hears all of this. God hears this and feels this on our behalf, even when God chose to not protect us from this unfair thing that happened. Right? Let's continue on to verse 19. For my enemies refuse to change their ways. They do not fear God. As for my companion, he betrayed his friends. He broke his promises. His words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. But you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young, but I'm trusting you to save me. Again, the Psalms say things that we wish we could think of sometimes in our anger, right? His words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. You know this, don't you? You know exactly what those words are saying. You know this because you have been ruminating on what he is getting away with and what he is scheming next to hurt you or hurt other people. You just know what this unfair thing is, and this rumination is just keeping you stuck. We're going to talk about that. You know this because you've come to this point of decision where the only good option for you is just wishing that you'd never met this person in your life ever. You aren't sleeping. You feel this constant of anxiety. And I ask this question. Have you ever been so angry about an unfair thing that you've actually scared yourself? Yeah. You know this, don't you? And like the Psalm says, can you trust God to save you? To trust God, it would be good to go through those 5 essentials to trust like we did in the previous week's video. And so now we're just going to briefly go through them again because you're going to need them again for this week. So these are 5. They come from Dr. Henry Cloud, and they all build on each other. So the first one is understanding. Does this person make you feel understood? 2 is intent. Is this person for you? Are their intentions good towards you? The third one, this is where we often excuse the red flags, is do they have the ability to be this friend to you, to be this business partner to you, to be this life partner to you? Do they have the ability? Sometimes we think their intent and understanding is enough, and we ignore that they just may not have the ability. Number 4 is character. And you would think first that character would be like before understanding, but there are character issues such as honesty or how someone treats a waitress. Those are character issues that you should know, like even before you try to see if they understand you. These are just like Dr. Henry Cloud calls them permission to play traits. They can't even like have a relationship with you if they don't have these good traits. But what I'm talking about here for character are these long, revealing traits that really matter in a relationship. What is their integrity? Do they have stamina? What's their financial responsibility? What do they mean when they say that they are a Christian? Character. And then the 5th one is a track record. What is their track record with you and with other people? Then you can trust. So you can run God through all of these to figure out does he understand me? What is God's intent towards me? What is God's ability to take care of my situations? What is God's character? And what is God's track record? You can do all that. So, moving forward here on healing betrayal, I have a trap question, which means don't answer it, but I want you to think about it. What comes first, trust or forgiveness? The answer is neither, because they have really very little to do with each other. Forgiveness has to do with the past. Trust has to do with the future. Forgiveness pays a debt. Trust is earned. But if you choose, and this is where they collide, and this is where it's going to come up tonight in this healing of betrayal. If you choose unforgiveness in your life, you will find yourself losing the ability to trust others. This root of unforgiveness has an outward rings around you effect that is not the life that you want to live. Remember, we talked about this last week and again in our forgiveness series on the YouTube channel. Forgiveness is God's gift to human hearts that are prone to turn hurt into hate. Forgiveness is core to this Christian faith, and it saves us from our sins, and it saves us from turning into ugly, bitter people. So, I'm going to give you some more Dr. Henry Cloud stuff because this is who taught it to me. I find it very biblical. I find it to be what we need to hear more to actually help us move forward and heal from this unfair things that have happened to us, the things that get us stuck. When something unfair happened, there's been a loss in your life. And these 5 steps we're going to talk about, I do really believe will move you forward towards healing. And I fear that sometimes you may not hear this enough in the church, but I promise you, you will hear it here. So number 1 is you have permission to heal first. I'm giving you permission to not respond right away. Sometimes I think we are, to forgive others, we've got to forgive too fast, or forgive because we're supposed to, or we forgive and then we say, well, God, you got to deal with it because I had to forgive, but we're not healing. So I'm giving you permission. Woo. You do not have to respond in the first hour, in the first day, maybe you even need a longer time. You have permission to take this time, because when you have been betrayed, when this unfair thing happened, your brain is in chaos and you don't know what is true, and your response to betrayal is coming out of that chaos. Ugh. You can't think well when you are wounded, and you will make bad choices. So I'm giving you the permission. Heal. Take your time, find a safe space, and you're to heal. Now, you're not to lick your wounds. You're not to stay in this heightened state of anxiety. You're not to stay ruminating on the situation, but you're to begin the healing process that time allows. I want you to remember this. We talked about this. There's a series on our YouTube channel called Lead Your Brain. We talked about this, how confusion helps you grow. So you're in a point of confusion right now. So let me bring up some of those points again. Confusion is a gift from God. And it goes back to how our brains work. Now, let me say here, the unfair thing that happened to you, this betrayal thing, not a gift from God. This is wrong. And we have a God of love and a God of justice. And may the God of justice be seen. Okay, we're going to get to that in a moment. But I just want you to say, understand, this unfair thing is not fair. But what confusion does, it is the first step to learning something new. Confusion is an opportunity to start believing something useful. And confusion motivates, leads to deep learning, and triggers problem solving. So in your confused state as to how this could happen to you, why this person could do this to you, and all these emotions, this confusion, your brain is waking up and kicking in on how to problem solve. And you just need to give your brain time to do that. It's good. This also means you need to find your people who you trust. Again, those 5 essentials, those people who you trust, and let them speak into your life at this time. I wrote a book about this. Let them speak into your life, maybe even every day. Because when this unfair thing happened and you hurt so much, you ruminate. I mean, honestly, you ruminate and you pull yourself out of it, and you ruminate again, and you pull yourself out of it. You forget what your people say to you. So tell me every day the truth again. Tell me every day what I need to remember, because I can't remember. My brain is in confusion. Text me every morning the truth I need to hear. Ask your people to do this to help you heal, to move forward. You notice how in this whole number 1 process here, that time is going to be involved? You have permission to take it. So moving on to number 2. Move yourself past the anger and the natural drive for revenge. This is moving you towards forgiveness. Now, if you just heard me say those words and you went, whoa, I thought you said this does not go with forgiveness. It's 2 different separate issues and I can't trust and I'm not going to forgive. If you just heard, and this is your reaction to what I just said to you, go back to step number 1. You need to heal some more. But in this process of healing, you're going to find yourself moving towards the possibility to move past the anger and have this natural drive for revenge is going to become less and less. This is part of the healing process. And as you are moving towards this, all of a sudden forgiveness becomes a possibility. So let's just talk about this then, right? We want justice. We want to hurt that person like you have been hurt, because then this would be fair. But when we try to make justice happen, we make horrible decisions because we're impulsive, anger is driving you, and anger will hurt you, right? Please hear me what I'm going to say next. This is truth. Anger and fear are not signs that you're carrying unforgiveness. Anger is part of the grieving process because you lost something. So do not think you're not moving towards forgiveness if you're still feeling anger. You actually are, because you're going through this grieving process. There has been a loss. This unfair thing cost you something. Probably changed your life. Probably changed who you trust. If you could trust anybody, can you trust God again? I mean, this cost you something. So fear is this loss of control of what you know, and this unfair thing has changed your entire world. So trusting the God of justice helps you move past the anger, betters your health, And there's a whole lot of science here. Just Google science and forgiveness, of how forgiveness increases your health. Every system in your body gets healthier. And you'll find that people will be drawn to your brave soul instead of this cranky, angry, ruminating self that you have been. Time allows you to heal and consider the possibility of canceling this debt. What? Again, with this forgiveness thing. I want you to hear this principle. No one earns forgiveness, and a wound leaves a debt. There's a loss in your life, right? You are suffering a debt. Someone is going to have to pay. You can decide that you are going to pay the debt for forgiveness. Now, this is not about reconciliation, and this is not about trust. Forgiveness has to do with the past. Trust has to do with the future. This is all about you saying, I'm moving towards forgiveness so that my life can become better. Dr. Henry Cloud has this thing that is about grief and forgiveness. And he wrote lots of books with Dr. John Townsend. This is their thing. And he said they talked for 2 days about this. They went back and forth and back and forth. Another tough question. What comes first? Grief or forgiveness? I mean, if you grieve enough, can you move towards forgiveness? Or if you forgive first, can you get through the grieving process better? What comes first? And they went round and round for 2 full days. And these are 2 smart men who have written 30 books together that I value as a Christian believer. And the answer they came up with is that they're a circle. There's not one before the other. It is, as you move towards forgiveness, you're moving through grief, helps you move towards forgiveness, helps you move through your grief. It just is the same. And this is healing. Dr. Henry Cloud said in his book called Trust, if you are going to be your best and healthiest and highest performing self, you must forgive. And I also want to say is, when you're moving towards this, forgiveness comes when God stirs it up from inside of you. Once you realize that there is bitterness inside you, that is your note. Ding, 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 ding. I now need to forgive because this bitterness is going to destroy me. This unfair thing that happened is already destroying me. But this bitterness, I'm done. I've got to move forward. I've got to heal. I'm going to pay this debt, and I'm going to grant forgiveness. Now, this is a big one. We're going to have, again, next week's going to be all about this. So, be ready for that one. We're not done talking about the very complicated, loaded issues of forgiveness. But forgiveness is the way you free yourself from betrayal. And this means you are not exposing yourself too vulnerably to this person again. You are just yourself getting better. So here's your first conversation question of the night. Are you watching this with people? Or is this one you kind of wanted to watch by yourself because of your own betrayal issues that you know about? But maybe you gathered your trusted people with you, and this will be a really fun conversation. But here's your conversation question. What did these first 2 steps, what hope did these first 2 steps give you that you can get out of the stuckness of what has been unfair to you? Have that conversation. I'll be right here. Good conversation? I mean, are you feeling the hope of this as the betrayal hurts so much? You feeling some hope here? I hope so. We're going to go through the next 3. Number 3 from Dr. Henry Cloud again. He just said, ponder, take time. Again, you got to this point. Your grief and forgiveness is all in a circle and you're into the circle here. You can ponder and take time. You have permission to figure out what's next. And you get to figure out, is it wise to move on? Is it wise to reconnect? We can take some more time. Let your brain work through this confusion, problem solving. Listen to your wise people, and you can decide. And number 4, ready? Determine if reconciliation is possible. This is not trust. This is just reconciliation. And if it is possible, trust is earned. This is not about that. Because this is going to require contact from the betrayer. And maybe after time here, he decided, no, not good, don't need to do that. Or maybe there is a possibility. But then here you go. You start applying those 5 essentials of trust. And you do, beginning with understanding again. Number 1, understanding. Does this person see how they hurt you? Do they understand you and what they did to you? This is the number 1, beginning to trust again. And if they say they're understanding you and they want to reconnect and reconcile, but they say, I am really sorry I did that, but you're done. Okay, you tried number 1. They said the word but. They're not changed. You can't go forward to intent because their intent then is not for you. That but says, my intent's about me because I'm looking for an excuse for my bad behavior. And they understand you. There you are. There you are. You know this is the trust level you're at with that relationship. But if someone is fully honest, remorseful, and apologetic, and if they care about what they have done to you and desire to make it right, then your forgiveness can take you to the next level. You can maybe be reconciled in this relationship. Again, this is not trusting again. This is saying this might be a safe relationship. Because it's not safe yet because you've got a track record. Remember, that's number 5 in our 5 essentials of trust. The track record hasn't been good. You were betrayed. You trusted and you were betrayed. The track record is still there. So this takes us to number 5. A new track record is built. So here you start over in those 5 essentials of trust and you see if you can grow this relationship brand new again. If this person has been made brand new, and as Christians, we do believe in the possibility of redemption, in healing growth. We do believe in that. And it will be proven in these 5 essentials of trust. Do they understand you? Is their intent for you? Do they have the ability to be in this relationship? And again, they may not have the ability because they betrayed you, and now you realize that. You stopped excusing the red flag. This is where you're at in your relationship. How is their character? In this new creation season that they are in, how is their character growing? And 5, are they building a new track record with you? And I want you to remember this. This would be a new person building a new track record with you. Not this person from before if we believe in God's redemption. But this will be a new track record being built. So you can see how reconciling is hard. It really doesn't happen very often. And I want you to be okay with that. Of course, we'd love to see all relationships reconciled to each other. But we don't live in that kind of a perfect world. Again, that number 3 one of ability. Some people just don't have the ability to be who you need in your life. That's why God made us other people in our lives. So I want to close reading again the end of Psalm 55 with all that we've just talked about together, and the possibility of redemption and this God of love and this God of justice working on your behalf, hear these words. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. When the psalmist here writes the word will, this is not conditional. This is a promise. God will be this God of justice. We meet together on Friday nights. We have this conversation first before I teach it here to you on YouTube. And this was a big moment when we want to see the unfair thing corrected in our time. Because that would help us heal, wouldn't it? We just want to see justice served. We want to see it ourselves. That may help us heal, might help us trust anybody again. But yet we've got to trust God, this larger story God, because he says he will do it. This is the part of God of justice. My part is to forgive and turn it over to the God of justice. This means how I like to see it resolved. I have my ideas. The God of justice may have totally different ideas than mine, and that may be good for me if I trust this God to follow through on what he says he will do. And then verse 23, but you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Oh. Murderers and liars will die young, but I am trusting you to save me. The end. Amen. This is this God of justice. God is still a good God, a God of justice who will fix the unfair and who hears you and knows this pain that you are in. So I have one last conversation question for you to have. We just went through 5 healing steps of betrayal that come from a great amount of hurt that causes us anger and confusion. Are you finding any possibility, any hope that there is healing for you in this betrayal? Please have a conversation with your people there, or if it's just you, between you and God, about the hope you are seeing right now. Have that conversation, and I'll be right back for the benediction. My goal of tackling this painful topic that likes to keep us locked up in a small world of pain and justification for why life should be small is to give you the hope that there is healing for this betrayal, and not just a Christian platitude of heal and forgive and forget. Again, more about that in the next video. But you have hope that you can heal, and that there's this God of love and this God of justice are both working on your behalf. So may you find hope this week every day, and may God move you towards forgiveness. And may you take the time to heal. Just want to say, if you want to meet with a Zoom coffee and talk about this more, please leave me a comment or a message, and I would love to meet with you. In the name of Jesus, amen.